In the lee of a picturesque swamp lies a large, unpretentious theme park, one that respects its history like its own employees. Hi, I'm Arlo Gersten, and if you like current Disney management as much as I do, then you'll appreciate the craftsmanship and quality of a Burbank-based ketchup marketeur who brings exorbitant budget cuts to his flagship projects and an astounding lack of protection to a park's history. Come see the difference good Imagineering can make in your park. You'll remember the experience, and you'll remember the name. Cobb Paycheck. Burb Baitchback. Tom Barbecue. Tom Stags. Don't you dare fade out on me.
Step into the magic. Watch the stories come to life. This is a celebration. Every color shines so bright. Turn on your light. Come on and live the magic. So much to find. Come on and live the magic.
Hi everyone, and welcome to episode 6 of Live the Magic. In this show, we look deeper into many of the Disney parks' current attractions and shows. As I'm sure you could have guessed from the intro, in today's episode, in honor of the 1-year anniversary of its closure, I will be talking about Epcot's Canada Pavilion. Let's begin. The history of this attraction, and actually the pavilion as a whole, goes back to October 1st, 1982, when Disney's third theme park, Epcot Center, opened to the public. While plans had drastically changed from Walt's plan for Epcot, the park was still incredible, but not entirely well received upon its opening. While many loved the park's originality, overall it was a bit of a mess, with a whopping 15 pavilions ready on opening day, inside of which you could find 14 attractions of varying qualities. And while early additions like the original Journey into Imagination and the fan-favorite Horizons did add some much-needed additional e-tickets, there were still some glaring issues. For one, upon its opening, there were plenty of amazing e-tickets, but no thrill rides. Disney tried to remedy this by adding the Norwegian Pirates of the Caribbean dubbed Maelstrom in 1988 and the vomit-inducing Star Tours ripoff dubbed Body Wars in 1989, but eventually guests realized that if they really wanted thrill rides, they would have to go to the Magic Kingdom or, by now, Disney MGM Studios. However, this lack of thrill rides was not always the plan. When Disney began planning Epcot in the late 70s, there were a ton of attractions that didn't end up making the cut. And while many of these concepts were shelved from the Tomorrowland-style Future World, the majority of these attractions would have resided in World Showcase, a sort of permanent World's Fair with whitewashed versions of various countries that I think is best described by this clip.
It's called a salute to all nations, but mostly America.
While in many of these pavilions today you can find various attractions and shows, the original plan was much grander. Among some pavilions that got scrapped altogether, like the fascinating Switzerland Pavilion, which would have hosted a very interesting take on Disneyland's Matterhorn bobsleds, most of the countries that did make it into the park were originally intended to feature at least one e-ticket among some other smaller attractions. I think the best example of this was the original version of the Japan Pavilion, which would have featured a Mount Fuji roller coaster, a bullet train motion simulator, and a movie, the latter of which came so close to a reality that a theater was actually built inside the pavilion, but after some construction errors, it had to be shelved. The movie did end up being an opening day attraction at Tokyo Disneyland in 1983 before closing to make way for a Monsters, Inc. shooter ride in 2002. While this pavilion was not the only one to have its attractions cut, it was one of the more infamous ones, along with Germany's scrapped Rhine River Cruise and the Italian gondola boat ride. I wonder why those 3 countries in particular got their attractions cut. But the Axis powers certainly weren't the only ones to get their rides shelved. Another country that was supposed to have a much larger attraction was Canada. While the idea of a Circle Vision travelogue was always in the works for this area, the pavilion was originally planned to have been much bigger. The pavilion would have a sort of main street that would run through the whole area, with one side representing French Canada and the other representing British Canada. It was also rumored to have had its own e-ticket in its plans at some point in time, supposedly some sort of lumberjack log flume ride because Canada. As the story goes, the Canadian Tourism Board wasn't too happy at the idea of sponsoring a ride that would portray a stereotype of Canadian living and pulled funding. And though Disney threatened to pull the pavilion from the plan in its entirety, they eventually decided to keep it, but at a much smaller scale. So, like most of Epcot, upon its opening, the pavilion featured a restaurant, a few gift shops, and a travelogue. The Canada Pavilion opened along the rest of Epcot Center on October 1st, 1982, and while guests loved such features like the Le Cellier Steakhouse or the gift shops, the Circle Vision 360 film dubbed Oh Canada was kind of an afterthought. However, after letting it limp along for 25 years, Disney decided to change that, and on August 6, 2007, the original version of O Canada closed in order to receive an update to the criminally out-of-date attraction. On September 1st, 2007, the film reopened as O Canada, featuring Martin Short. The update provided one thing that the film desperately needed, a sense of humor. Sure, not all the jokes landed, but overall it was great fun.
Sweet, 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 sweet.
Even though it reused a lot of the footage from the original, there were a lot of legitimate additions, such as a more accurate representation of Canada's diversity in the section about the population. The update wasn't perfect, but still it was a very nice refurbishment. This version of the attraction lasted until 2019, when Disney decided to update it again, this time capitalizing on the success of the Canadian sitcom Schitt's Creek by casting its two main leads to host the attraction. Fun fact, Disney does not own Schitt's Creek. Anyway, the Martin Short O Canada closed 1 year ago today on August 1st, 2019. And on January 17th, 2020, the attraction reopened as Canada Far and Wide. Even though it starred two of the funniest people in Canada in Catherine O'Hara and Eugene Levy, the script is a thoroughly unfunny mess, and the two interact with each other so little I don't think they were even in the same province when they recorded this. This version of the show also reused footage from 1982, which at this point was just becoming obvious and lazy. Needless to say, many were disappointed by the new version and missed the Martin Short version dearly, but unfortunately I don't think Disney will ever bring it back. Anyway, that brings us up to today. With that said, let's talk about this show's design. This show is terrible, but why? Well, let me go scene by scene through this train wreck so you don't have to. The show starts as beautiful footage of Cathedral Grove is shown as Catherine O'Hara and Eugene Levy introduce us to the wonderful country of Canada. We then see a map of the country and... wait. Zoom in. What the hell is Central Canada? Is this a joke? How could they have made a mistake like this? Who calls this area of the country Central Canada? Anyway, after some thoroughly unfunny jokes, the roses then introduce us to the first region of the country that we will be looking into, beautiful Nova Scotia. We are shown footages of Bluenose, a Canadian vessel that was once the fastest ship in the world. Then we see reused flyover footage of Nova Scotia, and even though it's an incredibly lazy decision to just reuse this footage, it is quite beautiful. We then leave Nova Scotia and enter this elusive Central Canada, and oh, it's Ontario and Quebec. Why not just label it Ontario and Quebec then, on the map? We are then shown more footage from 1982, this time of Quebec City, and our SCTV hosts describe how in this region many people speak French, as it is the official language spoken in this region. We are then shown more out-of-date footage, this time of Montreal, as Levy lists off fun facts about the city's culture and heritage. We then see some of the only non-reused footage, and oh, what a shocker, it's not in Circle Vision. Almost like they did this on such a tight budget they couldn't afford to rent a new Circle Vision camera. We then see various images of art, ranging from sculptures to Cirque du Soleil. We then see even more out-of-date footage, this time of Ottawa, as Levy describes many of the features of this wonderful capital city. We then see reused footage of various Canadian landmarks, such as Niagara Falls, as O'Hara and Levy provide commentary. We then see criminally out-of-date footage of Toronto, as Levy goes on a rant about some kind of sports thing. I don't know, I don't do sports. We then see equally out-of-date footage of Calgary, as the two talk about what this wonderful city has to offer, mainly the yearly Calgary Stampede. We then see footage that is probably reused of some of Canada's famous wildlife, as the duo talk about Canada's famous athletic activities such as hockey while providing painfully unfunny dialogue. We are then transported to Canada's west coast region of British Columbia as we see even more stunning reused footage. We then take a trip into the snowy mountains and hear this monstrosity of a pun.
Say, are you a fan of heliski?
Hell yes.
No. Just no. I'm done with this film. Goodbye, everyone!
Step into the magic.
Ugh, fine, I'll continue. This movie is almost over anyway. We then see footage of people doing various snow-based sports before seeing even more criminally out-of-date footage, this time of Vancouver. We then re-enter Cathedral Grove as O'Hara and Levy introduce the diversity of Canada, showing footage that I legitimately don't know is reused or not of Canada's First Nations peoples. Last but not least, we enter northern Canada and we see many of the natural wonders this region has to offer, such as some stunning footage of the Northern Lights. Then, the last part of this show is an identical version of the song from 1982 dubbed Canada, Your Lifetime Journey. I love this song so much. It represents everything I love about Canada and everything I love about Disney's incredibly talented songwriting staff. I know I've harped on the fact that almost all the footage in this show has been reused, but this is the one point where I don't mind, because I love this music video so much. Somehow, even when I know it's coming, it manages to choke me up. And just like that, the show is over and we exit the theater. This show is a bit of a mess, but let me explain why that is a bit more in the conclusion. First off, the rankings. C tier, the original O Canada. This show is a disaster because it was criminally out of date 2 days after it opened, and overall is just a very problematic show when it comes to describing Canada's many ways of life. B tier, Canada Far and Wide. This show is fine, it's just painfully unfunny and not factually correct about the country it's talking about. A tier, The Martin Short, O Canada. Not only is this show beautiful and well thought out and researched, but it's also absolutely hilarious.
How do I get out of here? Because I have a fast pass for Soren. Hate to miss it. I need help!
There is so much good stuff about this show, which is part of the reason its replacement is so disappointing. You take stunning footage, an incredible canvas, and two of the funniest people in Canada, and you get this. Like, come on! The Martin Short version was cheesy, but it was still a fantastic movie and a show I would see every time I was at Epcot. Now, I don't know if I'll ever watch this show again. It's just so stupid. Anyway, I think I'm done talking about this movie. It has some incredible footage, and yet the commentary makes it borderline unwatchable. I just wish they could bring back the Martin Short version, because that film was a wonderful portrait of Canada's beauty. Thank you for watching this episode of Live the Magic. If you enjoyed it, please consider liking the video and maybe even subscribing to my YouTube channel. There are a lot of videos coming out this summer you won't want to miss, so be sure to click the bell icon so you get notified when we upload a new video. Have a great, big, beautiful day, and remember, tomorrow is just a dream away.
Step into the magic. Watch the stories come to life. This is a celebration. Every color shines so bright. Turn on